All right. It says it's setting up the YouTube live. You can still see me, Nikki?
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
got it. I got a message that it's now live stream.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Okay. Now I just need to find my way back to you. Just give me 1 second. I gotta find out where you went now.
Okay.
Oh, you gotta love it. Just give me 1 sec.
That is now live stream. Okay, I got it.
Here we are. Okay. And let me see. Gotta make sure it's, oh, it is. Okay. I think it's showing up, Nikki.
It is. It's really strange because it looks delayed right here on my phone.
Yeah, it's just showing my picture for some reason.
I can see both of us.
Can you?
It's like,
Oh, I'm jealous. I can't. Okay. Just give me 1 second. It just shows me it is okay.
the chat is here. Woo! People are here in the chat.
Oh, yay. Okay, good.
I'm able
Okay.
to see.
Hi, Melissa. Hi, B. Smith. Hi, Marjan. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Holland. So, I am very technologically challenged for anybody who doesn't know that about me. So, I'm having to read my comments from my laptop. So, if you see my eyes go sideways, I'm looking at your comments because I don't know how to do it so that the comments come up on my actual Zoom. But thank you, everybody, so much. Takya, thank you for joining. Amanda. Okay, excellent. I'm glad that people are filing in and that everybody can hear me. That's awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, because we got lots to talk about tonight. Today I have the wonderful Niki Toon with me today. She is a good friend, started out as a client, but ended up on the friend side of things. And it is my honor to do this interview with you once again. We did an interview about a month ago about blowing the whistle on false light teachers because we've seen a lot of that out there lately. And it's awful because people are looking for truth, right? And the thing is that where do you know, where do you go to find that truth? And what does it look like? So tonight we're going to talk about spiritual discernment and how to be able to recognize a false light teacher. Also, how to be able to recognize a spiritual attack, a psychic attack. I think that that's very important. And how to defense up in these uncertain times because there's a lot going on in the world today, and I think that this discussion is crucial. So I will peer over at the comments from time to time, but throw up your questions in the comments, and we will get to them. But Niki, welcome. Thank you for joining me again.
Oh, thanks for allowing me to be in this beautiful space with you, Patricia. I'm so honored.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so about a month ago, no, about 2 months ago, you told me about what happened when you went to a spiritual teaching event here in Calgary. And we don't need to go deep into it, but do you want to do a little recap? Because this conversation is really coming out of that.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll recap briefly as much as I can. So I went to a group healing event down in Calgary at the end of July, I think it was, and had this 2-day experience. Stayed at a hotel. It was supposed to be amazing. I had this experience with a particular teacher that I was following through our lockdown, just like anybody else in the spiritual community. You know, we went to YouTube to kind of figure out what's going on. Let's hear from some spiritual teachers, and so this individual I had been following for a couple of years, and then finally he was coming to Canada. So I was like, I'm going to be there. And so it was a big event for me, a big deal. It was quite an expensive 2-day weekend group healing event too. But I kept hearing from a lot of people that he was, quite powerful, this individual, and had a very, very extraordinary healing modality, which I was super curious about. And I just wanted to have an experience, And so I went to this group healing event, and I noticed some behavior that I did not like, that made me uncomfortable, that really bothered me, that even though I enjoyed the healing aspect of the event with the breath work that we were doing as a group and whatnot, and the community of people that you're with, like they're so great, meeting new people as well was fantastic. But I left that event feeling unsettled about a lot of stuff, but not quite understanding what part of it that made me upset and why I wasn't feeling 100%, I guess, gravitating towards a spiritual teacher, like what was holding me back, because I wasn't quite there. And so I did speak with Patricia, and I explained to her where I was uncomfortable and what I saw and witnessed and felt. And she gave me clarity on what exactly was going on energetically at that event. And at first I didn't quite want to like absorb all of that. I was like, I don't know if that's right. Like, I mean, like I trust Patricia and I love Patricia, but that's like a lot to take. And it's so hard to see a spiritual person and modality in this light, in this way. And so it really led me down this path of realizing that Patricia was 100% accurate about what she was reporting to me about the energy behind this individual, this healing event, and his modality. And I got confirmation from several other individuals, and I was able to separate myself from it and be able to look in as an outsider, finally outside of that issue, which I see it now as a spiritual crisis that I found myself in, and understand what really happened. And it really did open up a lot of doors very quickly as to what's going on in the spiritual community, where we understand what darkness looks like, with like the devil and witchcraft and ritual and Satanism, and we know what that looks like, and we run from that into the loving arms of false light, and we don't see it coming. And this is where I feel that my story is a lesson for everyone. I take it very seriously because it impacted me on an energetic level that would have derailed my whole soul path, that cloaked my third eye, that placed a contract in my heart. It essentially overrided my soul purpose and mission to be following such a person and to be trusting such a person with my energy body as well. And this is where I have learned so much about what is really going on in the spiritual community and how to have proper discernment. And so that's why I'm so blessed to be here on this channel again to share my experience, which you can actually hear the whole story in the other YouTube video that Patricia mentioned. In order to like raise awareness, because it's when we have awareness that we can, watch out for these things and protect ourselves against them. Because let me tell you, ever since this event, Patricia has learned, and I have learned as well, that there is a great deal more to the story than that meets the eye. And it got weirder and it got crazier. And it really helped me understand that there's a lot more to this and people need to know about it. Right, Patricia?
100%. Yeah. Ever since we did that video together, I have been contacted by numerous people, ironically, all women, that have told me some major horror stories about the spiritual leader. He's running a cult. 100% that's a cult. But they've told me some serious horror stories where he's literally drained their bank accounts, and they've sold everything to go follow this man and ended up with nothing. And it's really, really, really sad to see this kind of behavior, because the people are seeking. They're in a time like when the world is in crisis, it's usually what brings us to our knees to finally look up and look in. And what people don't understand is that the body is a vessel, right? It's the avatar. It's the soul that's inside that gets the body done, that gets the job done, right? It's the soul, the mind, the voice inside that controls the body. If you think of how powerful our thoughts are, we can think our way into a good mood, a bad mood, an orgasm. We can think our way into anything because we are that strong, right? If we think we can do it, chances are we're going to be able to do it. But if we think we can't, right from the get-go, we won't, right? That's how powerful our thoughts are. So the thing is that there's a lot of people out there that are dipping their toes into channeling, opening up their channels, opening up their bodies. I'm going to tell you, as a professional psychic, I do not allow anything inside of my body except the Holy Spirit. I was raised as a born-again Christian, and this isn't about religion. Pick your piece, but find the easiest, quickest, path to peace, and you'll find God standing at the end of that path. You sure will, right? Because that's where it exudes from. So for me, I've never, if I'm even talking about channeling, I don't ever let entities inside of my body or turn on channels, and have voices that I can't turn off. No, from what I was taught, when there are negative entities that when they cling on to you on the outside, right, they can mess with you. So how do you identify that? I'll just go over that really quick, because that's actually, it can be demonic oppression when it's outside of you. So the physical symptoms of that is you can feel lightheaded, you can feel off, like almost like you're leaning to one side, or you got vertigo, you feel sick to your stomach, you can tell energetically you feel off. Now, when it comes inside of you, when you merge with something that is not of the highest light, it can absolutely control you. 100% it can control you, because your thoughts control your actions control your reality. And if you noticed in the media a lot lately, you're hearing about, well, voices told me to do it. Voices told me to do it. You even look at, like, for example, Nicki Minaj and Roman, whatever that entity is that she says controls her when she's on stage. Those are entities. Those are entities inside of a vessel. That is not to be taken lightly. It is not to be played with. It can literally take your life. And so we need to be very careful what is controlling our vessel. I spend about 90% of my day in prayer. I do, because if my vessel isn't clean and in that highest alignment, the messages aren't going to come through. The healing energy isn't going to come through, right? So I don't allow anything to speak through me. And even if I am talking to someone's deceased loved one, they stand in that corner. They don't come near me. Sorry, that's my chair that I sit in, and that's the corner they stand in. They don't come near me. I don't allow anything inside of my vessel except God and the Holy Spirit. That's it. I don't mess around with that stuff. And I think that it's very important that people aren't trying to open up channels to things that they have no idea about, because it can be something false masking as light, right? And I think that that's what that spiritual teacher got himself into, because I recognized right away when he even showed me a picture, I could see entities floating in and out of his head, in and out of his consciousness, all around his auric field. I could see them. Mm-hmm. So I knew that guy had been infiltrated, because you can see it. It's just gross. So, but I'm sure in his head, he thinks he's fine, because he's literally operating on a different wavelength, on a different set of consciousness, right? Mm-hmm. So it might have to take him 10 years to realize what he's doing right now and how awful what he is doing to humanity. But I don't know. When you're knee deep in it, how long does it take for you to wake up and come out of it? All I know is that I've literally prayed for him. I prayed for him, because it's people like that mislead other people, and I just think that that is horrible.
That's the thing that I wasn't sure about, is how much is that individual aware of that infiltration? How much are they agreeing to it, accepting it, and allowing it? And for that particular individual, I would say absolutely there is 100% acknowledgement and definitely a giving in to all of it, because it gives him power. It gives him a successful business. It allows him to be seen and to be followed by many. And this is where I'm exercising extreme caution with individuals like that, because we want to listen to spiritual people who have the answers. We want to know the answers. We have this human habit of looking outside of ourselves for the answers. And so the minute that there's a crisis on earth, because we're in a hot mess, right? And all these channelers that are popping up everywhere, like everyone's channeling now with their eyes closed, and they're letting somebody speak through them, letting them have control of their body.
Good.
This is not good, because if there is any high frequency being in the etheric realms, they have a reverence for all life. And that means that they're not going to go inside and make you their puppet. That is not a high vibrational being that you want to work with. Even if those messages are all light and love, they're not giving you everything. They're misleading you slightly off the path with information that they are skewing intentionally so that you never figure it out. Because let me just say, if we did have channelers that had these most supreme high vibrational beings that were here to support humanity, why do we have this mess that we're in the world if we have this information coming forward? It's because that these beings that are channeling are not, don't have humanity's best interest in mind. Even if their messages sound very beautiful, they are not giving you everything. They're not giving you everything. Not they say that they can't, but it's actually that they're skewing information for you. So anybody who's channeling, stop listening to them. They're channeling something that is not useful for you. It might sound nice, but it's not the full answer. And you have all the answers within. Anybody who says that they have a walk-in, I want to just mention walk-ins really quick. This is like anybody says, oh, I'm a walk-in, get out of their space. Don't listen, don't watch, unfollow, unsubscribe, because that individual is very much the same. They've brought in a being that being has no business in that incarnation. And that person is allowing them to step forward and take control in this vessel that should be absolutely sacred. And so that's something that I really want to emphasize there.
Yeah, there's definitely entities out there that do not have our best interest at heart. And this is the thing, is that they'll use these platforms to get their message out, because they become a broadcast system for that frequency that they want people to get hooked into. And it literally is, it's the frequency that we emit that matters the most, right? And there's a distortion formula where they will preach almost 70% truth, 30% distortion, just enough to get you hooked and go, oh yeah, they're telling the truth, and then 30% distortion. And so we got to be aware of it. And here's the thing, you guys, we have the answers within ourselves, honest to God. And even as a psychic, I always tell all my students who I teach psychic development to, I would rather teach myself out of a job and show you what I know. Pass on this ability, because you guys, we need people awake and aware everywhere, not just me in my studio. And I think that that's brutal, that these teachers pretend like they've got the secret to everything, the secret to life. That's BS. It's all within us. We just need to know how to look within and then trust what's coming in. That's probably the biggest thing, is trust and have faith in what it is that what your truth is, right? And the problem is if people aren't in alignment with their divine truth, that's where they start questioning and I think instead of I know. And I talk a lot about the difference between I think and I know. I think means that there's alternate choices. It's not a truth. It's not an absolute truth. When you know, that's an absolute truth. And an absolute truth hits different within the body. You can feel it. It makes you stronger instead of weakens your energy and weakens your energy field. And I think that that's the biggest thing that we can do right now, is teach people how to find their truth. We're doing people a disservice if they think that, you or I have all the answers, or someone sitting on their YouTube throne has all the answers, and they don't. They don't. It's all within us, but we have to be willing to do the work and get rid of our traumas and get rid of the stories that we tell ourselves and the victimhoods, because those are all blocks that prevent us from recognizing our truth and the reason why we're here, right? So
100%. And I want to say that, also the other thing that comes up a lot is, what about my spirit team? What about my guides? Because a lot of people are excited. They're waking up. And that's where discernment needs to be really, really high right now, because so many people are waking up. It feels like a feeding frenzy for this like darker frequency, this lower vibration, lower consciousness energy. And it's almost like they're out there looking for new hosts. And people are now, communicating with their guides, and they're saying things like, I'm channeling Archangel Raphael or I'm communicating, he's my guide. And yet, how do you know unless you've asked first, unless you've clarified that this being is the highest frequency of God consciousness? Because there are lots of beings that will present themselves as high vibrational light, and they will say beautiful things, but they are disguising themselves.
So I got to explain that. So back, because I grew up going to church, and I distinctively remember one time the the pastor was talking about, or he had a special guest. The guy came up on stage and told what happened. So he was he was a criminal that was in jail at the time, and this actually was a talk about spiritual discernment and how to recognize the Holy Spirit versus something else. And he was saying while he was in jail, Jesus appeared to him out of the blue. He was trying to get his life right with God, and he was starting to read the Bible and pray and everything. All of a sudden, Jesus appeared to him in his jail cell. He said, but something didn't quite feel right. Something didn't quite feel right. And so he decided to test the spirit. And he said, okay, if you're Jesus, show me your hands. Show me the nail marks. And instantly the thing turned into some sort of demon and came at him and then left. And so this is where, and I've always remembered that. And I always tested the spirit. How does it feel? How does it feel? Does it make every hair stand on end like you can't breathe and like you want to run? Because that's fear. That's fear. And if you are overcome and it elicits fear, then I'm telling you that's not of the light. It's not of God. It isn't. Don't play with that stuff. Rebuke it. And it's interesting that I'm talking about this on YouTube because I never thought that I would ever share my mom's prayer with anyone. My mom, when I was about 4 years old, I could feel demonic energy. I could feel angels. I could feel deceased loved ones. I could see it all. And it scared me. And so my mom taught me a very, very powerful prayer. Yes, it's a very Christian prayer. And it calls upon the Lord Jesus Christ. But I got to tell you, he's my homie. He's who shows up every single time I need to blast something out of someone or blast a space with light. That's who I call upon. And I mean, you can call on your dead grandpa, or you can call on, another deity or the Kali Yuga or whoever you want, but see who responds when you do. See who responds. See who shows up with the armor of God when you do. And I'm not making this about religion because God is a channel. God is a source that can flow through you, and you will absolutely recognize that channel because that's who we go back to. We go back to source once we're out of this body. So we will recognize that Heavenly Father or that energy around us. It feels the most amazing, expansive. It's hard to explain. It's like a spiritual orgasm. I don't know how to explain it, Niki, but when it's of God and the light. And I mean, you can call it God, Buddha, Allah, source. There's just something so much greater. And for me, I call it the Lord Jesus Christ. That is who I allow information to come from. And especially in times like this, it is full-blown spiritual warfare. I want to know my source. I want to know and have that personal relationship so that I know those words and I can repeat those words. And when I do, it just so happens to be the most healing words I can say, the most accurate words that I can say, the words at the right time, in divine time, come out of my mouth. You've had readings with me, Niki. You've been to my meditations, you've been to my classes, right?
Yes.
So, and you can feel a difference when you're in the presence of being surrounded by angels. You know what I mean? And that heavenly presence compared to something that scares you, makes you sweat, makes you kind of go like this. Get out of there. Get out of there. It's like, I don't care how much money you've paid because you don't need to sit in that energy because we absorb it. We absorb it. Right? So I'm really glad that that you did do something about it, that you did challenge that teacher and put him on the spot. And Yeah, I'm really glad that you did that, Nikki. That takes a lot of courage to do
Me
that.
too. I'm glad I did that as well. And I want to say that if you have any part of you that's like, something's just not right, that's your answer. That's all you need. Get out of there. Get out of there. And this strength that you can really detect the different frequencies, just like Patricia. You can do this when you do more work on your higher self. Bring in your higher self. Channel your higher self. Not anything else. You don't need anything else, right? Bring that energy into your body and tune into your heart center and get to know you. Just like Patricia said, do that trauma clearing, healing process, like start peeling away the layers of the onion, keep working on you. And the more that you love yourself and get to know yourself, the more that you will be able to discern with clarity these things. Because it's people that are detached from themselves, have some work to do on loving themselves, that they will grab onto these etheric team members that are stepping in for them.
Yeah,
And this is where you're going to get yourself into trouble, because they're not there to really help you. They're cloaked, they're guised, they're false light. And they can be very convincing and very tricky. And so here's a little homework assignment. I'm using my hands a lot, but here's a homework assignment for everyone. When you're going into your meditation or you're doing your spiritual practice and you call in your etheric team or individual etheric spirit guide, you say, I do not consent to any low consciousness frequencies in my space. If you are not of the highest God consciousness, you have to leave now. And you say it with conviction. And if your spirit team or your etheric team flicker, change, or disappear, you know they were false. Okay. And all you need is yourself. And so I have a guide with me, and this is a little bit private, like I don't share this publicly, but I've always had this one individual with me. I call her an individual because she's a lot like me, but she looks different. And every time I ask her, so who are you? Are you Andromedan? What's going on? Are you an angel? And I would always get the same answer. And it would be like, I'm you. I'm a fractal of you. I'm another, a parallel life of you. And I always thought, well, that's weird. That's weird. Like nobody, that's weird. But I always just accepted it. Well, fine. And so whenever I ask her, every time I go into my meditation and I'm looking for maybe some dialoguing with my spirit team, I will directly say to her a statement that I feel comfortable with, such as, if you are not of the highest God consciousness, you must leave now. And she will patiently just wait with pleasure, because this is what your spirit team will do. They will allow you to test them. They're glad that you are, because you need to express your highest discernment, especially now.
it even says in the Bible to test the spirit. And one of the gifts that God gave us was spiritual discernment and the ability to test the spirit. Because yeah, like I said, it's very easy to be infiltrated if you're not strong in your own authority and know who you are, And like you said, and I will share the prayer. You need to say it with power and authority. When you do say this prayer, say it as though you have that God anger working through you, like you're leaving and you're leaving now. And so I'll put it up in the chat. It's extremely powerful. And I'm looking at the chat, and Tori says, I have Patricia's prayer made, and all of my kids have it hanging in their rooms. I love that. Tori, I think that you were the one who told me that. And if I remember correctly, it's either you or someone else did it as well, where they made it into a banner. I'm positive it's got to be Tori, but made it into a banner and literally gave it to all their kids in their house. And I was like, oh my God, that is the coolest thing ever, ever. Because this is just something that I never thought I would share. But obviously, and for me, it's a little bit like, oh my God, I'm sharing it, because it's been my shield and armor since I was so young, and it works. And it was ingrained into me um, so much that I will wake up in the middle of the night, like if I'm being having a nightmare, I will literally start rebuking it in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and it's gone, it's shut off. So this stuff works. It's definitely my flaming sword and shield. And we need it right now, you guys. We need it. Oh my God, we need it. You guys turn off the news, because it's such a crock. It is blasting such negative, fearful vibrations that if you didn't shut it off over the past 3 years, turn it off now and give yourself some peace, honestly, because right now we're heading into a big showdown between good and evil, and we need to have our peace if we want to get through these next few years. Because while they're going war, 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 how do you stop a war? Stop showing up to the fight. Stop feeding into the energy. This is an old, archaic mindset and energy that they want us to get pulled into again. I'm sorry, but this whole war crap, it's got to go. That may have suited 100 years ago, 60 years ago, 20 years ago. None of it was right, and it needs to stop. And I truly believe that it's our generation, it's our children's generation that's going to go, okay, enough's enough. What are you doing? What are we doing to each other? Why is this right? And why are we putting our children on the front line when it's not even us fighting? Right? If the governments want to go to war and pick wars, they should be the first ones to sign up with their children on the front lines. They shouldn't expect it from other people, as far as I'm concerned. Especially yeah, I'll get into what I see going down tomorrow. Because remember, you guys, come meet me again tomorrow night at 7. I've got 2 of these in a row because there's a lot to share about what's coming up over the next little bit. But it's definitely a spiritual war. And like I said, if we don't know who we are, it's very easy to get sucked into some other narrative and then be pulled along with their false narrative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really do feel that it's ramping up exponentially. I mean, like, I never thought that I would see it like in the 3D, like you said before, Patricia. You're seeing it play out right in front of your very eyes, and especially people who are waking up. Because what's happening is that more and more people are waking up to what's maybe perhaps really going on, such as, we're being lied to, such as perhaps some pop stars don't actually have their own control or making their own music, and they're just performing dark rituals on a stage. Like, all this stuff gets weirder and weirder as we go along. And what's happening is that as we are increasing our light, we're pulling in more light into our bodies. We're starting to see what's really going on. And the dark side is kind of losing the battle and making it seem and appear way worse. And the attacks, I think, are really ramping up as a result of that. So I feel like right now our discernment is really being tested, and we have to stay strong, and we have to stay vigilant, and we have to stay in our heart center. Because let me tell you, when we follow other spiritual teachers and we follow their huge following and we join their workshops and all this, like, this is stuff that we all love to do. But let me tell you that if they're very, very popular and making a lot of money, I can almost 100% guarantee you that they're not there doing that alone all by themselves. They're getting help from a source that is not does not have humanity at its best interests. And so that's something that I've learned the hard way, really, is that, well, perhaps all of these, really successful spiritual leaders are really leading people away from their path. And that's what they're there to do. And so the minute that somebody is getting really big and really famous and popular, they're going to be infiltrated massively, because their timeline is projected that they're going to have a lot of people looking at them. And this dark energy wants to siphon as much soul essence as it can. And that means all the followers listening and watching to this particular massive, big spiritual teacher, their louche energy is being pulled from them into that spiritual teacher, because they have an army of infiltrated dark energy around them. And this is something that I'm thinking about now too, because it's come to light that it wasn't just the spiritual teacher that I ran into. There are so many others now, because there are other people coming to me now because of my public statements and telling me what they have gone through with other spiritual teachers that have a big, big following and are very successful. So I almost want to say that that's probably one of your main signs to watch out for. How big are they? Because if they get that big, how much integrity could they possibly have when they're making a lot of money? The other thing I would ask that you watch out for is any instances of abuse or bullying. Do they answer questions? Or do they avoid questions? Do they take your concerns seriously when you have a concern? Can you talk to somebody who has been through all the levels with them and achieved it all and has gotten out and is now doing their own thing with it? Probably not. Are there contracts involved? And what are the contracts detailing upon embarking on a mission to work with this individual? These are some things to look out for. Do they have a walk-in? Are they channeling, right? And do they charge way too much money?
Yes.
for a workshop or a program. That's definitely an indicator as well, right, Patricia?
Yeah, no, when you told me how much that guy was charging for his workshops and everything, I thought, oh my God, how horrible is that? Because people are just looking for healing. And if they genuinely believe that this guy can heal them, of course they're going to sell their house like that one lady did. Of course they're going to give him everything, right? Because, which is that is such a sin. Oh my God, that is such a sin. People do not need to be greedy when doing this stuff. Like it's brutal. And actually, it's funny that we're talking about this because I had a lady who asked me if she could become my agent, and she was also a remote viewer. And she said to me, she goes, "Well, if I'm your agent, first thing I'm going to do is up the price of your course of your classes." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Tell me why." And she goes, "Well, for example, your remote viewing level one, it's only $149." And she goes, "That should be about $999." She said, "on average." She goes, "Because you're bringing down the industry standard when you do that." And I looked at her and I said, "Absolutely not. I'm sorry, you cannot be my agent." I said, "Because I would never do that to people. Information should be readily available and at a price that people can afford. And if someone was to come to me and tell me that they can't afford it, have it for free. Have it for free. That's the way it should be. If you are standing in your light, speaking the truth, teaching something that God has placed in your heart to teach, you kind of want to get it out there. Yes, I know that people got to make a living, but you don't need to gouge people in the meantime. You really, really don't. And when I'm hearing that he's charging 12,000 pounds and 6,000 pounds per person for a weekend course and stuff, oh my God, Niki, that is, it's just, it blows me away. But the weirdest thing is, I've noticed that people, they think for some reason that the more you pay, the more value there is. And it's such BS. It's kind of like women's skin cream, whether you're using oil of Olay or Ziobaji, it seems tough, different tube, different packaging. You know what I mean? So it's just, what are we willing to pay for truth? What are we willing to pay for healing? And I just think that people who are authentic, they shouldn't be doing that.
100%. Yeah. Because, the entities working with that individual, the greed is a big factor. And the minute that, his pocketbook was tampered with or in question, that's when you saw like the whole, like, demeanor change, because those entities don't like that. They're greedy. The other thing you want to watch out for too is if somebody's going from hot to cold in a very quick way. And that's what I noticed with this particular spiritual teacher, is that he walked around the room so lovingly and explaining everything. And then he turned cold, really hard cold, and got upset with some people and abused them in front of everyone. And that's what he did. He went from hot to cold, just like that. He flipped. And that's a sign too, that person is not working alone. And so that's an indicator as well. Somebody who does lots of love bombing as well, like they're all so juicy and warm, and they want to hug you so much, and then they flip, and then they're cold and calculating and businesslike. That is definitely somebody who's not working alone either. Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that you told me, when it was like, how is this guy not being labeled as a cult, was when you told me his disgusting morning ritual, drinking his urine midstream, and once a month drinking his vaccinated girlfriend's monthly flow. I just, that's the ones that I know that drink blood are Luciferian. And actually I don't know anyone who's Luciferian, thank God. But that to me is so mind-blowing, so unbelievably mind-blowing, that he would encourage that and say that that's, in the name of God, that he's doing this stuff. That kind of, it's very disturbing, very, very disturbing.
That's definitely a red flag. Yeah. consuming the menstrual fluid of a partner to absorb the divine feminine light codes, is what he actually said. And you know what else is interesting is I found another spiritual teacher who they're actually from Canada, from Toronto. They've traveled all over the place now. But on a YouTube, she did say that she would swallow his semen to take in his light codes. And I thought, oh, now I've got a match. They're working with the same demonic entity.
Yeah.
And that's your red flag. We do not ingest other people's fluids or body parts or what have you. It's just not something that we do.
Not
We are
on it, yeah, and
sovereignty.
call it a spiritual practice.
Yeah,
Yeah, that just
that's a
it's
big no. But you know what? It got even worse because of the things that he was explaining and his direct disregard for, like an indigenous group of peoples on several occasions. But one specifically, he would do these things called deep space retreats, where he would get you to come to his, a plant medicine ceremony. And then he would get you to take what he called a rocket shot of the medicine, the plant medicine, and say that the shamans don't even know what the F they're doing. He said, we know what we're doing though. We don't make you sit on the floor in your process. No, we get you up and dancing. So he takes a sacred plant medicine that ancient peoples have had passed down through generations of working with and says that they're doing it wrong all this time. And now I know what I'm doing with it. Basically, he's using it as a form of a ritual to get people into a state where then he can manipulate them completely because they're wide open energetically. And that was what really blew the lid off for me, is that's wrong on so many levels and extraordinarily dangerous, because anybody who's going and visiting with plant medicines needs to know that you really do have to vet the person holding the space. And you really want to check to see how much they are aware of psychic self-defense and protection, because that is very, very important if you're going to embark on a medicine ceremony where you're opening wide up. And you're going to need a very skilled practitioner to be there to ensure a safe container for you practicing such a thing. And so that's something that I really want to emphasize, because a lot of us in the spiritual community are turning to plant medicines, but guess what? A lot of that plant medicine is being, looked at because it's becoming so popular that practitioners are gravitating toward it, and then they're becoming infiltrated, and they will mislead people, and people will be vulnerable in these spaces. So that's something that I also wanted to mention, which I wasn't planning on doing, but here it is. Somebody needed to hear it.
It's interesting you say that, because yes, plant medicine can lead to spiritual psychosis, and the thing is that especially in Canada, the CPA, or the Canadian Psychological Association, is doing tons of trials right now with psilocybin and ketamine and all of that, but they're not addressing the psycho-spiritual aspect of things, where it's creating the safe space. And the thing is that it can be fine and dandy, we'll say the first few times you're doing it for PTSD and all of that, but the deeper that you go, the more channels you begin to open up, the more you're going to realize that this is actually something that opens spiritual doors. That like you said, if you're not in the right sacred space with the right people to look for this stuff, it's very, very easy to open up the wrong channel and start hearing voices that don't belong inside of your body. And I'm saying that because I actually just finished working on a case like that. I can't really say much, but what I will say is that, you guys, if you are dabbling in plant medicine, be very careful, because there are spiritual ramifications for opening up your vessel in that way, if you don't know what you're doing on a spiritual level.
Yes, and one thing that you need to know as well is that how to identify if you're being victimized by this type of energy that can hook you or have a cord to you, or actually be hanging out in your aura. It can hang out on your back or on your shoulder. And what this can do is it can cause you to have thoughts in your head that are not you. They're not you because they're mean. They're not you because they won't shut up and leave you alone and they're abusive. And those are like the hamster wheel. They keep going, like the ruminating. That is not you. That's an energy that's hooked onto you and is looshing from you. So that's one way of identifying it, because you may not always feel it there. You may not see it, but you certainly can detect it, because it's just, this is weird. I don't think like this. I don't think dark thoughts about myself or my loved ones.
Yes.
And where'd that thought come in from? It just lands in like it's yours and it sounds like you, but it's not. The other thing that you want to pay attention to is, having lots of drama around you, lots of drama, like they won't only just directly target you, but they'll target everything around you to make your life like chaos. Because the minute that you're stressed and overwhelmed, that's when you're most vulnerable to even more. And then you're ready for way more attachments. And so you want to watch out for that as well. And if you see these signs, then I got to command my space. I got to go in and I have to cleanse. And I'm going to command that anything leave immediately. And you can do your own sacred ceremony ritual that makes you feel like you're cleansing and you're building up your protective layers. Whatever that looks like for you, it could be completely unique. There is no recipe. Only you have the answers of what's going to work for you. Because let me tell you, if you go out shopping out there for somebody who can remove entities for you, you could probably find some people who can do that. But if you haven't healed that issue, if you haven't sealed and closed those auric tears, then you're probably going to attract that again. And so you're going to have to pay attention to thoughts and where they're going, being clumsy, having accidents, and weird, drama happening all around you, all of a sudden, all at once. It's all designed to derail you, make you vulnerable and weak. And so a lot of these things are things that, we just accept, like, well, no, this is being human. But actually being human means that we should actually be free of all that. We should actually be having a good time. But all this stuff is around us, making it really challenging. So that's how we have to have discernment. And so, it isn't spiritual bypassing to say, this is, you're not like avoiding any personal issues. It's separate from having a personal issue. It's separate from, avoiding what may be nagging you for a long time. These are things that are kind of out of the blue, all of a sudden, and out of context. And we all experience them all the time. But that's when I'm cutting and I'm clearing and I'm raising up my energy and I'm calling in my spirit team that I trust and I know. And I'm going to call in my higher self to ask myself what to do next. Do I need a salt bath? Do I need to light a candle and do a meditation? And so this is where you need to have the discernment to say, oh, no, stop. I'm going to be in control now. And this isn't going to continue. Right. And so you can take an authoritative stance. You can be in your own authority. And that is having your discernment.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the salt bath, because that is an excellent, excellent way to reset your auric field and your energy moving forward. So what you do is you take a cup of Himalayan salt and take the whole box of baking soda, because it's not a huge box, right? It's just little. Dump it in the bathtub. Make the tub as hot as you can. Get in there. It will literally dissolve anything that is clinging to your field, anything that's clinging to your body. Make sure that you get your hair in there, because hair is porous. And just like if we go, to a smoky bar and we're going to walk out and our hair is going to smell like smoke, our hair is porous and will pull in that energy that's around us. So dunk yourself in there. Get in there and stay in there until the water goes to room temperature or body temperature, and then get out. Your hair will love it. Your skin will love it. You'll feel like $1,000,000 afterwards, and you'll feel 10 pounds lighter. If you did have anything clinging to you, you'll literally feel it come off you. It's the trippiest thing. But I always say a prayer when I do that as well. I'm always saying a prayer and praying that light of protection around me and for anything to get off of me immediately. So that's what I do. I have one of those baths anytime I'm doing some space clearings or feel any heaviness around me at all that I just can't seem to shift out of. The bath really definitely helps. It also helps to detox any heavy metals in the body as well. So it's a good detox.
So Rocky Rakel said, fear is what lets it in. That's right. Number one is don't feel fear. Number one is stay calm. Stay calm. You got this. Number two is ground yourself. Imagine the tree roots or the cord or whatever you've got going on, or go outside and plant your feet outside if you can. Immediately ground so you can connect with your support system and get centered. And then you can command it to go with authority, with a little touch of anger and sauce, like you do it. And I had to do it a few times when I felt it come, and I was like, nope. Because you can't be afraid, because that's what they're going for. They're going for that loose energy of fear. Absolutely. The other thing that I wanted to say is nightmares are actually a sign and indication of a spiritual attack, because in the astral field, it is quite easy to attack you, actually. And so if you've had a nightmare, that's an indication that you're being attacked. And so the minute that you wake up, you want to do a ceremony with yourself or a ritual to do your cleansing and clearing and removing. And I also want to emphasize, because my heart is for children and parents. Children especially are targeted when they're sleeping and dreaming and in their rooms in the dark alone, and they get targeted a lot. And so pay attention to the complaints from your children about what they're seeing or feeling in their room at night. Pay attention to any dreams that they're telling you that they've had, because they need to have tools for protection as well. And you can certainly, as a parent, assist in that and give them their own powerful tools so that they can expand their light, golden light from their heart. If they can, like you can make up your own special things between you and your child, so that you're powerful in this, when you say this, when you think this, or when you hold this, or whatever it is, and to allow them to have the potential to rid themselves of this as well. So I wanted to say that as a parent, because I'm a parent of two young kids, and now I know that when they're scared in their rooms, there's a reason. And I'm going up there and I'm gonna burn some frankincense resin and smudge, and I'm gonna say prayers into every corner of that room. And I'm going to teach them as well how to remain calm and how to command their light, because they are powerful as well.
Absolutely. Well, and I think in society nowadays, how many parents take the time to teach their kids how to pray, or take them to church. And I'm not saying the answers are in church, because it's been a while since I've been there. But I believe that church is where you are. It's a communion between you and God. It doesn't need to be in a synagogue or a temple or a church. It doesn't need to be in that. It can be out sitting on top of a mountain, or sitting anywhere in this moment. I do believe that light of God is available to each and every one of us everywhere we go. I just think that organized religions are the school system of of church. It's where you can go to learn about things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you go there to embody it. Because when I was going to church, I remember seeing a lot of hypocrites sitting in those pews, and that's what kind of turned me off of going every Sunday. And I realized that it's within me anyways. I carry it with me everywhere I go, and having that personal relationship with God, it changes everything, because you don't have to wait till Sunday to get your answers, right? So I really encourage people to open those lines with your highest source, whatever that looks like to you. And just because, I'm flinging some Christian language around, it's not one path. We're all going to the same place, right? There is an afterlife. I do believe there is a judgment, actually, even. We'll all be going there. Now, what I've seen as the judgment is, in the Bible, it says, we are all one, and do unto others as you'd have done unto yourself, right? That's the golden rule. That's not just in the Bible, it's in the Quran, it's in everything that's out there. Do unto others as you'd have done unto yourself. That's the golden rule. The reason why is because we really are all one. We will see ourselves through the eyes of every single person that we've interacted with. That is how we judge ourselves. You know how maybe you've heard of people who've had a near-death experience. They say they see their whole life flash before them, right? Well, they do. But it's not like you're sitting in a theater eating popcorn with Jesus, watching your movie watching it on rewind. It's not like that. It's like you're literally reliving it, but through the eyes of every single person you've ever touched, talked to, punched, hurt, you know, everything interacted with, we will see ourselves through them. So if we frustrated someone in that moment, we will feel that deep frustration that they experienced with us, right? And from what I understand, the only way to not relive those painful memories is through forgiveness. Is through forgiveness. Forgiveness completely wipes it off of the pages of our book. And that's why it's so important. If we want to be forgiven, we have to also forgive, right? And open our hearts to that. So I think that's a pretty important one too, because we can't keep carrying around hatred and then expect our life to be great.
Samira here is asking, can anyone tell me where they buy frankincense in Canada? So I would say that if you're going to buy frankincense, I would go with doTERRA or Young Living essential oil, which I use to dot on my crown and also the back of my neck, where I have the God's mouth chakra for my protection. I do that every morning. And then whenever I am buying the tree resin, I ask if it's whole and raw and 100% frankincense tree resin, because it could be blended with other things as well to make it cheaper to sell, I guess. And so to source like really good frankincense, I don't actually have any recommendations other than the essential oil companies. But you can go into any shop and ask if they have any frankincense resin to use for your smudging process, right? And dragon's blood is really good too. And myrrh, though those sacred plants are giving us that powerful protection. And so I do a daily like smoke and smudge kind of ritual. And I use all different kinds of things, but I find the most potent is that frankincense for me personally.
Nice. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
love frankincense. I do. I love it. Um, I think that those are ways to definitely be able to clean and clear and shield the external, but the internal, it's about forgiveness. It's about love. It's about staying in the now and learning to not allow the future or the past to control us, right? And that's the biggest thing, because I don't want people to think, um, you know, just with a few tools, it it heals everything. We need to be that adjustment bureau. We need to adjust ourselves from the inside. And it literally starts with our thoughts. It starts with, staying in that state of grace and love and forgiveness instead of ruminating on who's hurt us yesterday and it's so easy to get on that hamster wheel, especially over the last month, I would say 3 weeks to a month. The chaos energy in the air has been insane. Very, very highly chaotic. So if you've been feeling that energy, you guys, go easy on yourself, because there is a big universal something, something going down. And I know that a lot of light workers are feeling it. A lot of people who are very empathic are feeling it. So you're not going crazy. This is where self-care has to come in. This is where you have to start taking care of your peace and being in control of you instead of what's going on around you controlling you. So I highly suggest the bath. I highly suggest getting out in nature, like you said, with grounding, turning off the doom scrolling. It's so easy to scroll and scroll and scroll on our devices. And then we get that stuff stuck in our heads, right? And all it is war or COVID. They're still talking about that since the last 3 years, right? So it's just a bombardment of fear factor. And what happens when we're in that state of fear? It's immobilizing. It's paralysis by analysis. You're just like this, right? You can't move. So, and I personally think that there are definitely powers out there that want us to not be able to stand in our power, speak our truth, and not be able to move. Same thing with you. Look at the insane amount of censorship that is happening right now. I heard that Trudeau is going after the podcasts now. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did. And I'm trying not to look. It really is sad. I have seen it. And that means that Canadian podcasters have to register their podcasts with a government organization that's now being funded through, the federal government to monitor. And I'm not sure to what extent you are monitored. And I think it's more based on censorship. I really do. I think it's based on what is your content about, right? And you have to register it so that it's monitored. Yeah.
That is so, so crazy. So crazy to me. But I mean, look at what he's done to the country, so nothing is really surprising anymore. Yeah. Any questions that you would like us to answer? I'm just going to scroll on the question or the pod or on the, you know, you know what I'm talking, comments. That's the word I'm looking for.
I do want to say that if anybody is curious about learning alongside others about discernment in the spiritual community, that I have a new project launched. It's called Discerning Lightworkers. And there's a podcast now and a private Telegram group exclusive to people who are leaving traumatic spiritual situations, looking for a way to heal and cleanse and learn protection for themselves to be empowered. So if you go to discerninglightworkers.com, there's a group of us that are volunteering to support people coming from cults, traumatic situations, abusive spiritual teachers, what have you, to be received with a lot of love and understanding, and then also to get support as well.
Oh, that is awesome, Nikki. It's time.
It's time.
Time that we
Yeah.
support each other and, you know, and stand in our light. That's for darn sure.
And also because, like there's a lot of toxic shaming going on in the spiritual community, like you attracted this to you because it's your mission. It must be your soul path to have this abuse.
Oh,
Or, you were contracted to have that experience, or there's darkness in you. That's why you drew the darkness to you. And there's all this, what I call bull crap. I don't want to swear on your channel, but I don't think that it's true. I think that, we are actually drawing and attracting a lot of these circumstances because we are shining so bright and we're like beacons and they're like, ooh, over here. And I think that's why. It's not because you're having to learn hard lessons the hard way. You don't deserve to be attacked. You don't deserve to be abused. And there is no shame in falling into their traps, because there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of illusion being used so that we question ourselves and we fall into the traps. And that's how they're so successful. And yes, the New Age spiritual community is a breeding ground for that type of thing. And that's why we have to be on high alert and we have to discern for ourselves, very much so, and to learn from each other's experiences and not be afraid of speaking about it.
yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. And honestly, I think that it's important to, get to know the teachers, get to know the backgrounds. Because the guy that we're talking about, he's got a background in fraud and he brags about it in his books, how he was a white collar fraudster. And I just think that someone like that doesn't change his stripes, right? He's just found a legal way. I don't even think he's doing it legally, but he found a legal way, to hose people and their money. And so, yeah, if something doesn't feel right, get out of there. Don't accept their teachings. Don't have that imprint on you if it doesn't feel right. Because I think that our spiritual discernment needs to definitely be at an all-time high right now. For sure, for sure. But that goes also with what's happening in the news, even because I can feel like I've got this weird thing, and ever since I was a kid, because I love to read, I got this weird thing where I can feel if an author is embellishing, or if it's 80% truth, 20% distortion, or if they're lying 60% of the story or filling in 40% of the story. I can feel it. And I got to tell you, the news is vibrating really, really low these days. And I mean, they have been for a while, but it is sick inversion. That's the thing. It's literally like it's being inverted for, for what it is that they want to control. They want to control the way we're thinking, right? And who we're cheering for. And the greatest thing that we can do is not show up for the fight. Turn it off. Don't feed into it.
That's right. And if you're looking for spiritual, support, and you're looking out in the spiritual community and you are drawn to that still, because, we're still on this journey of, but I just want to share it with somebody. I just want to, hash it out with somebody, these things, like these thoughts I have, or this book I read, or this teacher I listened to, then find a spiritual friend to have tea with once a week and just talk spiritual matters. It'll lighten you up. It'll give you clarity. And as long as you trust them as well, like their opinion will really help you. And then support your friends. like instead of going to see a really expensive healer that says that they have all the answers, which they don't, they're lying to you. Instead of doing that, support your friend who just opened up her healing business and is really trying hard to, provide for her family and also practice her spiritual gifts. And so that would be what I would suggest, because at the end, the question is, well, where do we go then? Who do we turn to when we're looking outside of ourselves for the time that we do, intermittently, we are going to hop, in and out a little bit, looking outside, well, we're like scanning for things that we're looking for. Then turn to your friends, turn to people that you love and trust, get your spiritual community put together yourself and support each other.
Well, the other thing that I do too is I ask my guides, show me, show me. And every morning, even before I do this work, I put my hands up in the air. I say, Lord, use me as an instrument of your peace. I am showing up for work. I am checking in. Give me the words to say. I am your vessel. Speak through me. And then it just comes. So the other thing that I'll do, if I need direction, I'll say, Lord, guide me, guide me. Guide me, show me what I need to know. And then boom, it comes, whether it's in the form of a book that, someone recommends or is like, ooh, you're drawn to it, or that person that just says the exact right thing that just has that light bulb moment. Because the thing is that spirit works in all ways and through us and to us. And I think that the directions, the signs that we're looking for, they are all around us, but it's us that needs to be tuned in to that spiritual voice that will give us the signs, right? But again, that's going within. It is good. Yes, I'm walking around.
Yeah. But I'm smiling because I'm like, yes, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. I ask your spirit team, ask the universe to put the next step in front of you. Like, I'm ready. Let's go. Show me. And then go on your merry way and it will come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And everything is a frequency. So people got to remember that. If we want to be high vibing, okay, look at your five senses. What are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you wearing? That's the other thing too. Think about it. How do you feel when you wear bright colors? Right? How do you feel when you're wearing yellows and pinks and whites? And I love your yellow. You look and feel shiny, right? And bright, and it's very uplifting. So it's start wearing how you want to feel. If you need protection, black is great. Black is very protecting, and it goes like this. But the bright colors go, and they sing, right? So wear how you want to feel. Try that. I'd recommend that in my psychic development course. It's like, it's amazing how when you start to use color therapy and the frequencies that go with it, how you change, you shift, because your body is constantly responding to the external stimuli as much as the internal stimuli, right? So if we start using everything around us as a tool for enlightenment or a tool to raise ourselves out of that depression and anxiety, you watch how quickly and easily you'll step out of it. So everything that's around you, everything that's on you it's an opportunity to help shift your vibration lower or higher. And so even when it comes to music, I don't listen to the radio anymore. I don't listen to the hate. I used to love Eminem until I stopped hating my mom, and forgave her. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I can't even listen to that anymore because that's yesterday's hatred that I don't want to feed into ever again, right? Mm-hmm. So it changes you when you even guard your hearing, guard your sight, guard you, start living intentionally and watch how it completely changes you. Even doorways of opportunities will begin to open up because you're lighter and brighter and it gets noticed. When you begin to glow bright, you attract these opportunities to you. People don't miss you, you stand out. And I'm not talking about looks. This has nothing to do with looks and everything to do with vibration, vibrational energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whenever you become energy aware, that's when you start to acknowledge that. What about the food? What about the things I'm hearing? What about the movies I like watching? Things will start to change because I think it will happen quite naturally where you're not going to resonate so much with the horror movies you used to enjoy for fun, or going to a concert like used to be your thing. Whatever it was, it's like you're not doing that anymore because you don't feel like it's right anymore. Like you'd rather do something else now, and it should just be more natural as you tune in to to your energy system and you do more cleansing and working on yourself and clearing and working on, those layers of limiting beliefs and traumas, you're going to open up more to who you are. And then these things are just going to fall away like they were never part of you to begin with. And that's where you're going to vibrate and resonate at a higher frequency. And let me share with you that I believe that there is a team watching us and hoping that we make the right choices, because we have choices to make every day. And they're like, oh no, she went for the stupid, scary movie again. Like I just try to picture in my head what they're thinking. Like, why is she doing that? She knows better, and I really believe that at the end of the day, whenever I make the right choices for myself, for my health and for my well-being, for myself and for my family, that I can feel them clapping. I can almost hear them like, oh, good, because now she's doing the right thing. She's making the right choices. And we're so grateful that she's back on her path. And you're going to start to notice that for yourself. You're going to start to feel where these choices are probably not the best for you, but this one's better. You're going to notice that. And then you're going to be able to navigate your life with more ease, and it will feel more natural, and it will get easier as soon as you pay attention to all the energetics around you, because everything is absolutely energetic in nature, and it is impacting you, including the things that you wear and listen and eat, just like Patricia said.
Well, and it's with everything being energy, how do I explain what I was going to say? I just had a second thought come in on top of the first thought. Here was it. How do we change the world? One person at a time, ourselves, by changing ourselves. We become that living example. When we shift our energy, other people will notice. And they may not necessarily notice or understand what they're looking at, but they will notice, because you shine a little bit differently each day that you shift, right? Well, when you shift, the people around you tend to shift, right? And the ones that don't want to shift with you, they kind of fall away to the wayside. And the new ones that support your next step and your new vibration will show up. So it is about vibrational alignment. And I just think that now more so than ever, it's so very important to be consciously aware of what we're bringing to the table every single time, and to seek that easiest pathway to peace right now. I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the video, but the energy is still going to be a little bit chaotic until about the middle of November. And so hold your peace, stay in your own lane, head down, do your work, mind your business, and don't get pulled along by everyone else's drama. Don't get sucked into people's drama right now, because the energy and tempers and all of that, it's high right now. For whatever reason, I think that there's a big universal something coming in, and people can feel it. So yeah, it's important to just hold on to your sanity for over the next few weeks, for sure, because it's even with our kids are watching. Everybody's watching. And when we are carrying that negativity inside of us, it leaks all over whoever is around us. A bad mood is very contagious, right? So is a good mood.
Mm-hmm. And be your own boss. Be diligent, be strong. Don't just sit there because you're afraid of being impolite by leaving early. Get out of there. And that's what I discovered about myself, is I couldn't leave because I didn't want to look rude, but who cares? I needed to leave that room I was in, and my spirit team were pushing me out of there. And I was like, but I can't. What if some people think that I'm rude if I leave? And that's how we were raised. To worry about being disrespectful or rude to other people or to this individual. But at the end of the day, we have to stand in our power and be strong and be our own boss and say, actually, no, not for me. And to be confident in it, because it doesn't resonate. It's not for me. And you can put your hand up and you can get out of there, okay, without worrying about being rude. That's got to be thrown in the trash. That is a belief and a conditioning. And maybe perhaps I'm speaking as a woman, and maybe that's where that's coming from. But that is something that I was noticing, is that the cultural conditioning of the area where I grew up and my gender has applied to me this desire to always want to people please and to not be rude and to be polite at all times. But when it comes to this spiritual war, we've got to stand up and put our hands up and be like, no, thank you, I'm out of here. And that's what we've got to practice. And now don't worry what anyone else thinks. What they think doesn't matter, but you matter more. Your energy matters.
Absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
time to protect it. 100%. It is. It is. Well, thank you, Nikki. Thank you. Thank you. I know we went a little bit over in time. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate that. This was fast. That went by very fast.
It was
Um,
good.
And if you had fun tonight, join me again tomorrow at 7. I'm doing this again. I'm spending the weekend with you guys. It's been a while since I've done any lives or put anything up on YouTube. So I don't mean to neglect you guys. I love you. Just my schedule's been really, really crazy. So tomorrow, what's on the agenda? I'm going to talk about what's going down with humanity, what to expect. Um, yeah, I'm going to go deep into that because there's some really trippy stuff that I've been psychically made aware of. So I'm going to talk about that. Hopefully that doesn't get me banned or anything. And then we are going to do a global prayer circle together, prayer and meditation for humanity. So Nikki, I hope you can join me on
Absolutely.
that tomorrow with the kids. That would be awesome
Yeah.
because we need it. Lord knows we need it. And I do believe in the power of prayer, especially unified prayer when we're all saying it together as one, and calling upon that highest energy. And it is non-denominational. I don't care who you pray to. Just show up with an open heart and ready to receive the highest light and to pour it out of you, to pour that peace out of you, because that's what we need. We need peacekeepers. We do.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah. Well, thank you guys. I'm just finishing off the comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And many blessings to everyone who joined us from across the world who is now finally going to be able to go to sleep at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm honored that you joined us live on the class, not class, on this meeting tonight. I don't know why I can't talk. That's what happens. It's been a long day, but I'll be glad to do it again tomorrow. So God bless you, Nikki. Thank you.
Thank you,
And Nikki
Patricia.
has her own channel, Tuned and Inspired, that she
Yes.
just started. I encourage you to do that. Good girl, because you talk so well, so amazing. You've got amazing downloads to share with humanity, and
Thank
yeah,
you.
I think that it's awesome to support each other. So thanks again for coming on, my
Thank
dear.
you, Patricia, so much. It's been an honor.
God bless everyone. Have a wonderful night. Take care. Bye for now.